Even though the Minnesota Vikings have the best wide receiver in the National Football League in Justin friggin' Jefferson, they still have Adam Thielen, and KJ has been rising up in year 2, and then hopefully that carries over to year 3. ISM deserves to be more involved in the offense. The Vikings should still look to add to the wide receiver core as the Vikings modernize the offense, get after it, and especially at the top end of the draft, they should consider, if the right guy is there, taking a wide receiver in either the first or second round. So we want to go through our top 10 as of right meow. Now, this can change. This can shift depending on the day. But for me, wire to wire, Treylon Burks has still been the numero uno wide receiver for me. And I understand that he didn't test well. It's like, oh, he didn't test well in his underwear. So obviously he's garbage. Baloney. 66 catches, 1,104 yards receiving, 11 touchdowns. He's an A.J. Brown clone. He just fights for it. He's feisty, adds a physicality and dynamic element to every offense that he's going to be in. And Treylon, I mean, the TO comparisons, I mean, they're certainly there in terms of a wide receiver who didn't check all the boxes physically, but just is going to fight for the ball and is going to be that alpha dog. I think that he and Justin Jefferson and KJ would be a nice trio going forward. And then also Adam Thielen, obviously still there. I mean, he's our guy. Number 2, Jamison Williams coming out of Alabama. Yes, Jamison would have been clear-cut number 1 wide receiver in this draft if he didn't tear his ACL in the national title game. But he is the closest thing to Tyreek Hill since, I don't know, Jalen Waddle. Right. So I understand the questions like, well, he was originally at Ohio State. How come he never got the time of day there? How come he's a one-year wonder, etc. But, I mean, his one season at Alabama, 79 catches, 1,579 yards, receiving 15 touchdowns. It's one of the greatest wide receiver seasons in college football history. He was fantastic. And it's just, again, it's unfortunate that he tore his ACL, but an ACL is just an ACL nowadays. He'll be fine, maybe even play towards the end of the season. But going forward, having that just game-changing, game-breaking speed would be fantastic. Next up, G-Dub, Garrett Wilson coming out of The Ohio State University, 6 foot, $183. Now, he's a guy that's really grown on me. Initially, I saw that Wilson and Olave were really close, like 1A and 1B. I do give the slight edge to Wilson. He really is a Stephon Diggs clone. I think that he could get open in a phone booth. He's one of the cleaner route runners in this draft. Olave might be the best route runner in the draft, but I mean, Brian Hartline's doing fantastic things as wide receiver coach there in Columbus. But Garrett Wilson, I think easily could be that guy. And if he's there at 12, I mean, you would certainly consider it. Certainly. Next up, Drake London, USC, 6'4", 219, power forward. He literally played on the USC basketball team. He is the go-up-and-get-it type guy. Physical, jump ball, a red zone target type dude. 88 catches, 1,084 yards receiving, and 7 touchdowns last year, which is amazing because they had really shaky quarterback play at USC last year. And also that's including... he did have that ankle injury that put him behind the 8 ball during draft season. Didn't run the 40, but he was never going to be a blazer to begin with. Was probably going to clock in at the 4.65 range anyway. But speed is not his game. Physicality and just going up and getting it. And Kirk needs a tall receiver. Next up in the top 5, Chris Olave coming out of Ohio State. 65 catches, 936 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns. Now, I do think that he's being slept on. For me, I think he is underrated, but also I think Garrett Wilson just like slightly like that. But Olave is going to be a fantastic pro as well. Like I mentioned earlier, he may be the cleanest route runner in the draft, and it's going to be so annoying if and when he ends up with the Packers, because I think that he'll be a late first-round pick, and he's just going to be... he's going to be a pain in the ass. The rest of the top 10, so John Dotson coming out of Penn State. Redshirt senior, so he's going to be a little bit older coming into the league, 5'11", $178. He is tough. He is versatile. He is good after the catch. He's just a feisty blocker. And I think that he does have potential to be an Allen Robinson type player. And, yes, we're just going, Penn State wide receiver, blah, blah, blah. But John Dotson, I think, has a chance to be that dude who's going to lead a team. Next up, George Pickens coming out of Georgia. So he's certainly a forgotten man in this draft class, and he would have certainly benefited by returning for his senior season and just showing that he can have a full year healthy. But the size, 6'3", huge wingspan as well, does need to add some strength. He's not even in the same universe as Drake London in terms of being a big-bodied physical receiver, but great route runner, big wingspan like we mentioned, and you're betting on the physical traits. I think that he could be a nice outside the number receiver. Just has to work on getting off a press But, that can be worked on in the pros. Next up, Skye Moore coming out of Western Michigan. Now, I think that Moore has a chance to be a back end of the first round guy. Junior coming out with the Broncos, 5'10", a $195. He is Steve Smith. Like, he is a clone of Steve Smith. 95 catches, 1,292 yards receiving. 10 touchdowns. He just fights. He's feisty. Now, given his height, he's going to be stereotyped as just a slot receiver. It's like, no, he can be an outside the numbers guy. He's going to get off a press. He's stronger. He punches above his weight, pound for pound. He may be the feistiest wide receiver in this class, man. Like, he gets it. He just goes out there and gets after it and is not afraid to mix it up. I really like him. Next up, got Christian Watson coming out of NDSU. Go Bison, redshirt senior, 6'4", 208. Physical freak. Just an absolute physical freak. Could sneak into the first round based off potential. You could easily see him going to the Chiefs, or you could easily see him going to if only we had the draft order there. You could easily see him going to the Chiefs on the back end, or the Packers, or the whatever at that spot. Maybe even the Lions at 32. But yeah, you're betting on the upside of Watson. So I think that, he showed that he's away from the body catcher, but sort of limited in NDSU's offense. I think that he's going to be a better pro than he was a college player, even though he was a pretty damn good college player as well. And then lastly, you got Calvin Austin III, the gadget player of this year's draft. Great punt returner as well. 5'8", a $170. He's a do-it-all. He's a track and field star, gadgety type player. Just get the ball in his hands. A lot of screens, a lot of swing passes. Just get him the rock, and every play turns into a punt return. It turns into a scramble drill. He had back-to-back 1,000 yards receiving. Try that again. Back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Nailed it for the Memphis Tigers, as well as 2 punt return touchdowns in the last 2 seasons to the house. So he is a fantastic, really fun, dynamic guy. So a lot of these guys, even though it's unpopular because, he tested badly, blah, blah, blah. I would take Treylon Burks at 12 if he's the best player on your board. I would consider Jamison Williams. I would consider Garrett Wilson at 12, maybe even Drake London. Olave, Dotson, Pickens, Moore. If the Vikings did trade down, potentially. I do see Calvin Austin more of a day 2 selection. I think that 46 might be a little bit rich, but I don't know if you'll get him at 77. So he's in one of those awkward spots as well. And that's not even mentioning like David Bell from Purdue, who I think is a great player who just got hammered by the offseason testing, but that's whatever. He's just a fantastic player as well. So I think that the Vikings very much could and should add to the wide receiver core day 1, day 2 in this draft. There's a lot of top-end talent, and just having a future Batman that's going to work with Justin Friggin Jefferson. And also, yes, don't forget KJ, don't forget ISM, but if you're going to become a passing team, it doesn't hurt to have pass catchers, especially the elite of this draft class, man. But your thoughts are thoughts. Take a look at the top 10 wide receivers in this 2022 NFL draft. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skull Production Value.